Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome, everyone. As we get the Bill, it's lovely to see you. You got something going there. You're almost always the very first one to join in on these live streams. I do appreciate that. Doing these live streams is always just a little bit intimidating, as I know Bill is one of my pros at this. Joining me today in this special monthly slot just for Emma Cox, because that's how it works. Emma Cox, of course, is our star behind the Emma Explores series for Projectkin. And we use these sessions each month to tell us a little bit about what's coming in the coming the episode in the following week. Things are getting so busy for Projectkin, I'm afraid. We have to scale things back a little bit. And I am, by the way, rethinking things for 2026. And I always welcome ideas. That's how all of this has happened. So, Emma, looking ahead next week, I've already given a little bit of a tease, something about family search, full text search, your interview with Lucy in Family Search, and letters. So what's coming next week?
As you say, I interviewed Lucy from Family Search recently. She's lovely. She's been doing quite a lot of interviews and talks with those people across the world, and she works in the UK and Northern Europe. And she was really kind, and she gave me loads of tips, and I know you appreciate that as well, about how to use Family Search and lots of things that most people may never have heard of. Good tip is labs. Have a look at labs and see what's coming there. And there's all sorts of different things. And full text search actually is something that came out of labs. And basically, what it does is it looks for you. So rather than it just being the title or the main person that whatever the item is about, it will look through the whole thing and it will index it. And it will tell you that this name comes up or that name comes up, that place, whatever it is. And then it brings it all back to you. And I thought, well, okay, this thing is supposedly good. I mean, you never really know until you try it yourself, do you? And trying it on one particular family name or a line or something like that. So I had a go. And it's like, what's this? And it's like, okay, I know quite a lot of this. And it's like, there's things on there because Fonblon, who I've talked about before, it's like one of my great grandfathers was the commissioner of bankruptcy. And so there are a lot of things mentioned for bankruptcy cases. So it's like, okay, I'm probably going to get loads and loads of those. Oh, yes, there's one or two of those. And then all of a sudden there's this family history document that comes up and it's like, I've not seen this before. And it's like, but it's not even their name. It's a different family name, but they're
and it's buried in it.
Yeah, it's buried. And I wouldn't have found it without looking. And looking through it, it's just like, it's fantastic. And I don't, if people are fans of things like Bridgerton or, where it's like they talk about going to take the waters and what life was like in Regency England and that sort of thing. It talks about they would be my cousins. My first cousins are something like 6 times removed, their lives and what they did and how much money they spent and their relationships and how they got on and who was nice to who and who wasn't. And actually, most of them were pretty nice to each other. But one of them, Fonblon goes back to these two brothers who came over here. And so this is the uncle rather than my line, the brother. And she remarried again because the husband died. And apparently he was a bit of a bully. And he was jealous of the children, their children by the first marriage. And so he made her agree in writing to only contact her at certain times. And also her brothers and sisters. And it's like, really? And this is all part of these letters and things.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I get how usually the kinds of things that survive that are treasured and, prepared are the good things, the adoring love letters or the accomplishments of a family. But to find the dirt and the daily life.
Daily life. So one of them, he was in the military, and so he moved around from post to post, and it talks about it, and it says, "Poor Harriet in her carriage, whatever, and she was forced to eat so and so," and you get the real day to day life of what things was like for them, which is amazing, and it really does bring them to life.
Yeah, we talk about postcards. There's been a lot of talk about postcards lately. And while letters with, may not, are often tossed or they decompose, you see that sometimes some of that, what they ate or, how long it took to travel or things like that will be in postcards. but to get those legal contracts, those agreements in writing to of a controlling husband.
And other things included the first husband had gone back to France because he was originally from France and he'd gone to visit his mother. And unfortunately, he died when he was out there. And there's actually a description by his cousin about him dying and sort of, and also saying how their mother was and how the brothers and sisters were. And there's all of these things that I had no idea about. I would not have found them. And the thing was, they were by a different name. So they're by the name of the family of Phillips. And I wouldn't have found them by looking for Phillips, although I knew there was a connection when I saw the name. I thought, oh, yes, I know. But I didn't know, I wouldn't have looked for it.
So were these letters somehow transcribed into this family history book, or were these actual handwritten letters? Is the AI doing handwriting recognition?
No, these weren't handwritten. This is what somebody had collated together from
I see.
their grandfather's
Uh-huh.
information, I think it was. So he'd got all of this, and
I
somebody
see.
had actually put it together. And I can't remember exactly when it was, late 1890s or something. I think they were doing it. And they basically divided it into different chapters. So they talked about different family lines in the different chapters, bit of background information. And I'm going through all of this and rabbit holes, lots of rabbit holes. It's like, oh, there's that. Where does that go? And, you just get carried away with going down there.
Yeah. The period of I guess it's the late 19th, mid to late 19th century when so many of these family history books were written. What fun. And to find one that, mentions your family on the side, and the label on the book is something else, is fantastic.
Yeah.
The Family Search collection of family history books is just delightful. There are so many in there, and I had found full search text. I mean, it was heavily promoted at Roots Tech when it was still in labs, and I had found that. But frankly, one of the things that I was so impressed with from Lucy's conversation, Lucy's description again. As a podcast. So there's no screen sharing or anything else. But I do use Family Search so much now that her describing what tabs things are under was wonderful. Because frankly, yeah, the interface, I never got the interface before. The change up made it cleaner, but it still didn't make any sense to me. I didn't understand where things were. But just a simple explanation of, I mean, then you lost me through rabbit holes. You lost me on famous relatives. Wow. You know, Churchill, Lady Diana. Okay.
I looked it up and I can't remember, but I think it shows me on there. There's when I did my one of my first Emma explores, I talked about famous relatives, and there's a second one, and I think I'm related to something like 24 American presidents on that one, and a load of others, and I'm related to Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan via different lines, and there's all of this stuff there, and it's just like there's so much information available nowadays, and it's thinking, oh, I must remember that. I must put that somewhere, and that's the to-do list on Family Search is
Yes.
worth remembering.
That's a that's a great example of something that I had no idea existed and I probably never would have touched. But the explanation of what it is and why was tremendously helpful. And a just a reminder to nudge back in there. It honestly really does underscore the value of putting the rudiments of your family tree into Family Search, which is, of course, what they want you to do. But doing it there in a way that is, I find, wonderfully supportive and non exclusive. It doesn't seem to go in a way that is forcing you to keep it out of someplace else, which I really love, plus all of their integrations with having a public API that has widely allowed for public integrations of things. I use a Mac family tree locally, and all I do is import export from my Mac family tree to bring things in. More than anything, I actually do stuff there, and then over in weare.xyz. That's tremendously helpful. So
And
tell us.
they
Go on.
carry on. Yeah,
No, no, no.
I was just going to say that Family Search are bringing in something new, CETs, where it's like you'll be able to have your own private tree that people can't
Right.
edit on there, as well as
Yeah.
having the public tree. And with Roots Tech, I hope people have registered for Roots Tech. I have.
Yep.
Have you?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes. Oh, yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Past years,
But
they were offering their little badges for doing it. And I think the badge system never quite worked. But yes, I did right away, the 24th.
Yeah, yeah. And getting your tree in order. So you've got a couple of months, or a little slightly more than that, to actually make sure that it does look good and you're ready for any potential cousins, root relatives, famous relatives, all that sort of thing. Definitely
Yeah.
worthwhile doing that over the next few months.
Yeah. So Dr. Mary Marshall, a wonderful contributor here on Projectkin in a variety of ways, and of course has her own archive, worked with a university, asks, I have letters from 1900 to 1976, mostly 1900 to 1946. What's the best way to publish before placing them in an archive? I already have nearly 75 postcards from 1905 to 1961 in archive, but want to publish letters. Any advice?
I would think about putting together a book, actually
Ah,
making a book from them, like I've done, and then somebody in the future can hopefully find those and then add them if they don't already know about them.
so tell us about the book that you've done.
I haven't done a book yet. I definitely would like to at some point. I want to do a one place study on Fonblanc, a one name study on Fonblanc, with an idea about doing books. And there are three family lines or three um, professions that naturally come out of that. There are a lot of people who are involved in the legal profession. There are a lot of
Uh-huh.
people who are involved in writing and journalism, and there's also diplomacy and things like that. So I thought that there were naturally chapters I could do of a book for those. I haven't done it yet, but that's one of those things that's going to be sitting there, and that goes across various different generations. So the legal line goes about six generations down. Diplomacy goes two or three generations across and down, and writing and journalism that's several generations as well. So and even to the current and present day, actually, because there's a guy called de Fonblanc who's actually in the Foreign Office, so in the diplomatic service. So it's rather nice that that's carrying on. So that's one of the books that I've thought about writing. That doesn't include family letters or anything, but I know that one of the Fonblancs actually, I think it was Edward Barrington de Fonblanc, did a book on the House of Percy and
Mhm.
the Percy family in Northumberland, and that included letters and different things in there.
I think, Mary, your question also raises a larger question of what publishing means versus an archive. Because is publishing making posts for each card to talk about it? Is publishing creating a self-published book with pieces that describe their background, the context, why they're significant or whatever else? Or is it something else? And what is an archive? Is an archive accessible, and who is it accessible to, and for what purpose and what constraints? It strikes me that the publishing step is really about wrapping a narrative context, not necessarily a long through line narrative across all the letters, but putting a personal interpretation onto the pieces and making that visible to others. And another layer, you can decide who they should be accessible to. And then the archive is making them accessible, and you get to decide who they are accessible to for someone else to tell their narrative about them. It's too easy to assume that I published it, it's done, story's told, boom, done. Because it's just life ain't like that. Um, Mary Marshall pops in to know she's talking about a book, and she has used them in posts. So that's
Well, then
exactly,
you've got the book
yeah,
half written, haven't you? If you've got your posts, you can basically just turn them into a book. But as you
yeah,
say, it's picking out the threads and picking out the themes, the connections, the flow. Really, do things
yeah.
naturally go together in certain other patterns that you can pick out as a result of it? Are there what do you want the book to be about? And have a think about it. See what material you've got available, and then
Yeah.
see try and group things together and see what appears as a result of that. One of the points you were just making just now was about annotating things. So the book that I've read, the one that I talked about, or I'm going to talk about on Thursday, there are annotations in that. So it's like it says
Mhm.
it was at the beginning, it was collated by so and so, and then there are odd comments here and there. So it's the letters plus other things in there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's always where that added value is. I mean, these days in modern digital media, we have so many notions of integrations back and forth between a static media like printed matter versus a digital media that might be static, like a blog post from 16 years ago, or it might be interactive in the sense of having comments and integration, or even integrated from the point of having a post have a QR code, or a printed book have a QR code that goes back to the post. The trick with any kind of an integration like that is to ensure that posted the digital thing doesn't move because it will. But that's where the Internet Archive is a useful thing to consider. I can't be sure that the Internet Archive will never change, but taking a post and creating a Wayback Machine link for it is a good way to ensure that it will be accessible. So, if I were you, Mary, given what I know to be some of the extraordinary historical value of the pieces that you're doing, you keep on doing what you're doing, using them in posts. Um, and I would suggest as you do a post, you think about other things that aren't going into the post that may go into your book. Because, yeah, you might have it halfway done with all of the posts that you've done, but there's more that will be in the book.
And
And
posts are limited in length generally as well, aren't they? So we don't tend to make them too long, but with a book, you do have more space.
yeah, yeah. Um, uh, she asks, can I say more about the Internet Archive?
Mm.
There are so many aspects to the Internet Archive. I've actually thought about ways that we might have an event surrounding that itself for Project Kin. The Internet Archive, of course, is at archive.org, and it is a one of the, preeminent nonprofits out there in the from the very earliest days of the web. There was a fantastic interview with Brewster Keel, the founder of the Internet Archive, done for I think it's How to Fix the Internet, a wonderful podcast series. And it really talks a little bit about what the mission and goals are for the Internet Archive itself. There's also a film library that is now associated with the Internet Archive. And the goal is to uh, replicate the entire physical universe of printed matter, not a, a Library of Alexandria kind of thing, and they do everything they can to manage around issues like copyright, and began some of the first fights over that as Google Books has navigated as well. They are very eager to take any kind of family history materials as well, and all entirely searchable. About 5 or 10 years ago, I took my grandmother's book, made a PDF of it, that excerpted the chapter that refers to people who are today still alive. It was published in 1948, and I posted it to the Internet Archive. I'll come back to that, Mary, about where the podcasts are. The I posted it to the Internet Archive. They snatched all of the content out of the PDF and also posted it with a all text file, which 5 years ago made it even easy to search the text. And it's just, I go to Harger and Allied Families, and poof, it always comes up first because their SEO is also very good, as their domain authority is very, very good. So it makes it very easy to find those podcast. That's a How to Fix the Internet is the podcast. It's an episode with Brewster Keel, and I will include all of this in the notes to today's post. But that all comes back. It's like a private version of what the Family Search is doing. From your conversation with Lucy, do you know is it how an ordinary citizen or an extraordinary citizen like Mary would approach the Family Search about adding her materials to Family Search?
No, I don't. No,
I would
I
su-
have. I think she mentioned something about it, but I'm not sure how you do it.
I know that this came up in a presentation I was at one of the Family Search libraries. The Family Search Library here in Oakland, California is sort of their Silicon Valley episode instance, and it's very, very big. And it happened that we had a presentation on Chinese records, Chinese genealogy from the head of the Bay Area Chinese genealogy group. And a question came up about the records at the NARA facility, the National Archive. Oh, thank you very much, Bill. Bill just dropped in a Family Search Library, Family History Library donation. So there's your answer. I was going to say that in that talk, there are some changes planned for to close the National Archive here in California, a facility that has been archiving the records of Chinese immigrants, especially the period of the during the building of the railroad and then all of the paperwork related to the Chinese Exclusion Act that was all held here in, I believe it was San Mateo. It initiated a conversation right there with the director of, okay, I'll go talk to Salt Lake and see what we need to do to go to the national records and the NARA National Archive and bring those records in. That open-mindedness about bring it in. Let's just do it. Let's bring it in. Let's make it happen. It's just fantastic. And I think the collections that are out there in families, hey, maybe we need to do that across. Maybe we need an episode about that with some. I could probably get Rudy from the Bay Area Family Search Library. Hmm.
I was actually thinking about doing an interview with somebody from the Internet Archive and letting
Oh,
people know about that because I haven't done one of them. So I will pick your brains on that. Yeah,
I can make that happen. I can make that
yeah.
happen. Absolutely. Well, this is what it's all about, right? And I really feel strongly. It was sort of a why not idea at first, but I now really feel strongly about the strength for this community of extending from the continent and all of Britain all the way to right now Hong Kong, Western Australia and Hong Kong. I'd be happy to reach India and South Africa if I could in my own sort of reverse Commonwealth. The tail wagging the dog, so to speak. But the value to all of us of hearing your stories, for example, about fancy pedigrees in Britain of these incredible stories reminds us of how this all began, reminds us of how this history and where these roots are and how we actually can go do this ourselves. It's really quite inspiring. And you give us whole with your themes. You give us whole you're burrowing new rabbit holes.
Definitely. I have to say, whenever I do a talk, it's like I go down a lot of rabbit holes as part of the actual thing because that's like I think I can do it around this topic, yes, and I've got some information, okay, and then you start looking, and then there's that goes off there, and there's that person, who's that person? What are they doing? Why are they there? Oh, who's that? Yes.
So you drop down the rabbit holes so we don't have to? I don't think so.
I'm just showing you some of the rabbit holes that I find. I'm sure people have loads of their own.
Eva, maybe we need to make a little tea towel.
How many rabbit holes have you been down recently? Yeah.
Right? Oh, I'm such a Alice in Wonderland fan. It's always about the marmalade off the side of the shelf. Well, any tips for us for things that we should prepare for your program on Thursday next week?
Well, if you get a chance, have a look at full text search and just do a search on there and see what comes up and just see if there's anything interesting yourself.
What if we all came with our own little list? Any tips of what words we should be looking for? Family names? Is it something like that?
Yeah, I just literally tried doing a family name. So I did Fomblol. And then what you can also do is you can choose a place and you can also choose a collection when to actually get the results coming up. And when you start looking into the collection side, that is something I will demo. It basically makes it a lot more interesting because then you can start honing in on different places, different things. So it's like I found one which was Fiji, and I thought I got something for Fiji in there, and Bolivia, and it's like, hang on a minute, and there's all sorts of things come up, and you start saying, oh yes, that's so and so. When you look at it, oh yeah, I know that. And there's a Fonblanc Road in New Zealand, so of course you get things related to people who lived in Fonblanc Road. So you can start if you want to looking further or sort of eliminating people. But I think it'd be just fun if people come along with some idea of the different things that they found.
I love having homework. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I think we should do this every episode. Give the
Mm.
homework assignment for then to be prepared for Emma Explores, because that really,
Yeah, just so people can give us some examples of different things that they
yeah,
found.
yeah. And Dr. Mary Marshall chimes in to comment to Bill Moore. Checked locally and advised to use the National and Emory. In terms of archives, I believe. I chose Emory based on conversations with each, and we'll make links from Emory to locals so they'll be available there. So we can follow up on that. I'm not sure I've transcribed that correctly, Mary, but we can pick that up. Feel free to drop that into the comments. Now, as we wrap this up, do know that I've learned from a best practice, and you'll find my recording about best practices, at least what I know so far. Um, I've discovered that it's best at the end of these programs, which always delivers a copy of the recording, both to myself and my guests. I publish mine immediately with all of the defaults, and then I run back when you're not looking. When you're not looking, I run back and make edits to it to add as many notes and links and references as I possibly can that I can think of that are useful. And so it's a value to you. So if you see it right away and there's nothing in it, but don't you want to download the app? um, I go ahead and update that, then do a refresh later, and you'll see all the notes. And by the way, to the point about the app, always seems a little out of place, but here's the thing. Substack does that because they know, and from your own dashboard, every publisher should be able to tell that new subscribers find you through the app at insane rates. Something like 35 or 40% of new subscribers are coming from the app. And that's why they're always encouraging every post to talk about the app. I don't always do that because it feels to me tedious, but there you have it. It is a good thing, and that's why they're doing that. So, any last thoughts, Emma or Bill? Barry?
Looking forward to finding out what people discover.
There we go. So am I. I'm gonna be studying the Harger family line from Yorkshire because I know that much, but what much more I don't really have. So it's a topic I picked up with Jude Rhodes from time to time, and she already gave me a great tip to go explore Giggleswick.
Great name, isn't it?
We love those names. All righty then. Thank you so much. And all of you out there in Substack land, thanks so much for joining. Stay tuned next month when I'll be following up with Emma again ahead of Emma Explores. Till
And
then,
we're here on Thursday, this coming
of
Thursday.
course.
Yeah.
And remember, for Thursday's program, you do have to register through Zoom. And I'll include a link in the notes as well. Thank you all. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.